Hello everyone, welcome to ngarrgu Library. My name is Gemma Baxter, I use she, her pronouns, and at the City of Melbourne I'm a pilot and trial specialist. However, I'm not going to kick us off officially, I'm going to hand over to Councillor Leilu. If you could come join me on the stage, thank you so much for being here, over to you.
Good evening everyone, and I'm Councillor Phil Blue, and I'm the Deputy Chair of the Knowledge Innovation Portfolio, and so it's a really pleasure to be here. Let me begin by respectfully acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we are on, of the Eastern Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. May I also acknowledge the Victorian Government Fishermans Bend Task Force, Director and Author Damon Gameau, and all today's speakers, and also everyone else to be here in our most newest library, one of many, which is very, very beloved. I think we all can agree that Melbourne has many advantages, and a key aspect of that is our highly educated and also innovative community. I've heard some great ideas from residents, from business owners, through to everyone. And that's why we're throwing down the challenge in this room. And we did that last year as well, which I also presented down at Fishermans Bend. And if you're wondering why we're not at Fishermans Bend and also we're here at ngarrgu, I think we can be assured that while the launch is here, but also the ideas and everything will be actually taking in Fishermans Bend. I jokingly said, well, it's probably because we don't have light rail and heavy rail going into Fishermans Bend, but hopefully that will be happening very, very soon, because for me, Fishermans Bend and also Docklands is one of the two precincts or areas that are fundamental and key, and there is so much potential to be locked. So for many years, City of Melbourne has believed the solution can be found right here in some of our most complex and urban challenges we face. And the most exciting ideas come from entrepreneurs, universities, researchers, and from startups. So we're inviting organisations of all sizes to pitch big and brave ideas using data, technology, and this year's theme is a regenerative city. So, what does that mean? So, well, essentially, the challenge asks, how might technology and data enable city spaces to be more efficient with resource and more resilient and also healthy? The one winning idea will receive $90,000 in funding and be brought to life for testing in Fishermans Bend in 2025. Really curious to see how last year's winners went as well. This is the second time we've partnered with the Victorian Government to deliver the innovations in Fishermans Bend. And it's providing a really exciting opportunity to really test out those ideas and be brave, because for me, at this moment, anything how we can unlock Fishermans Bend and the jobs and everything that come with it is going to be potential. So why Fishermans Bend? I think everyone here probably would know it, but the part of Melbourne is probably emerging as Australia's largest urban renewal project. It's also the 3 times the size of Melbourne CBD, and that's at a very conservative figure. It'll be home to an estimated 80,000 residents and provide employment for up to 80,000 people by 2050. Just to give you an idea, we were supposed to be the largest city in Australia by 2035 or 38, I can't remember. We clocked that last year. So in terms of the amount of people that is coming in, I think this is another example of unlocking potential. So few of us will be saying that this would put Victoria at the very forefront of global innovation in advanced manufacturing, engineering, and design, and yet few of us would say we have the answers to sustainable growth. Damon Gameau has spoken in the past about how shared complex problems can almost overwhelm us. It definitely drives us politically. However, he has hope. In his words, there are millions of people doing great things out there, really practicing viable, scalable solutions. Why aren't we talking about them? Well, tonight is a chance to do that. So to share insights and imaginations. So thank you for joining us tonight, and I really can't wait to see what everyone can come up with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. It's a privilege to have you here tonight. Before I hand over to the speakers, which is hopefully why you're here tonight, because we've curated an exciting lineup of experts across a range of fields, I will do some of the quick and boring things potentially. Toilets are out to the left. We've got Gemma, another legend called Gemma, taking photos. If you don't want to be photographed, just let one of us know. It is being videographed tonight, so there will be a recording of this if you want to share this inspiring conversation we're having right now with your friends. And I'm just going to run you through some of the things that we've got on offer as part of the challenge, and hopefully we'll get you to sign up and come along. The theme is a regenerative city, and we're really excited about this as a council because it does bring together some really critical challenges into one kind of systems thinking approach. We've got renewables, we've got waste and circular economy, community, health and well-being, climate resilience. We're really excited about this challenge, and we're hoping it really engages you the way that it has engaged us. We are going to have an info session next Wednesday. You'll hear from myself and Cam. We're going to talk you through the ins and outs of intellectual property and how we pilot ideas. You're going to hear some great examples of startups doing awesome stuff in the regenerative space that use tech and data and leverage that as a resource. It's online and it will be recorded. This year, for the first time, we're doing open data drop-in days. We're opening up Melbourne's Town Hall City DNA, which is a 3D model. We can project data onto it and bring to life some of our data and insights. Come along, sit down with a data mentor, book in, and we will tease out insights from our data and support you to access data. So we're really excited about that. We've also got pitch training. Phil Orr, can you wave to the crowd? Legend, innovation and pitch training expert from 25/8, who is running a series of workshops. And we've designed these this year based on feedback from last year. The first one is about using the data to create a compelling narrative as to why your challenge is really important and harnessing that data to show us what it looks like when it scales. And the second training program is about how you can tell a story through your submission. Often we see, 100-page submissions or submissions that they've already submitted to another project that was kind of similar. We want you to really think about what you're submitting and make sure you have the best chance of being selected as the winning pilot. Mentoring, we've got some of our mentors in this room. So inside City of Melbourne, we have a variety of subject matter experts from climate resilient mitigation, adaptation teams to health and wellbeing programs, emergency management, think about our heat waves and our other events that might cause the city to need to mobilise. We've got designers, urban designers, we've got industrial designers, you name it, we've got mentors for you. So please leverage that. Excitingly, we've got a huge open data resource, so if you can't join our open data days, please come along. We've also got our maker spaces, so those of you who join the tour, please leverage these. There's one at Library at the Dock, there's one at Kathleen Syme. We made some badges the other day using a 3D printer. There's 3D modelling programs. They're sick. It's so cool, so please come and prototype there. And that's it for me. It was a quick and sharp, tasty snack of the challenge. Tonight was really designed to hear from some speakers. We want you guys to get up and share your experiences and your thoughts to spark ideas. We will finish here around 6:45 and we'll have the opportunity for you to keep talking. There's some cool maps over there that you might want to engage with afterwards. But with that, I'm going to hand over to the incredible Tiffany Crawford, our co-director of Climate Change and City Resilience Branch and Chief Heat Officer, coolest title ever, to present to you today. You don't need the clicker, do you?
Thanks, Gemma, and I'm very sorry you have to listen to a public servant after that really exciting and generous introduction. My name is Tiffany Crawford, my pronouns are she, her, and I am the co-director and co-chief heat officer at the City of Melbourne, and lots of my fabulous team and colleagues are joining me here today, and I'm really honoured to be representing their work. We are here today, though, to spark innovation and collaboration in Melbourne's oldest innovation precinct, Fishermans Bend, as Councillor Lelou has spoken to us about. And interestingly, this area, pre-colonisation, was known for its sand flats and its coastal edges, and was a vital part of the ecosystem for the Boonwurrung and Wurundjeri Woiwurrung. Oral traditions from elders speak of a time when rising sea levels were transforming the landscape and creating what we now know as Port Phillip Bay. The name Fishermans Bend, though, reflects a later chapter, with communities setting up shacks near the water in the late 19th century. So if you're interested to know more about our Aboriginal history, I'd encourage you to learn more by looking at our Mapping Aboriginal Melbourne website. It's fascinating. But now we're turning our focus to the future, and it's clear we're facing a critical challenge, a rapidly changing climate and biodiversity loss. We're experiencing more and more extreme weather events, heat waves, floods, storms, bushfires. Every month since the middle of 2023 has broken planetary records for the hottest ever recorded. Concurrently, cities and communities around the world, including ours, are grappling with housing supply and cost of living challenges. Historically, we've managed nature by building over natural systems. We've turned away from it. We've sought to control and distance ourselves from the natural world. But this approach is not only unsustainable, we're increasingly learning about the impacts of this distance on our health, on our climate, and on our sense of community. So we need to navigate a new way forward. So in redesigning for a regenerative city, and you develop your ideas for Fishermans Bend innovation, I ask you to think, and you might be inclined to think about floods, for example. It's on a floodplain. And it's really important, and lots of work and thinking is going into flood mitigation. But I'd encourage you also to think about multiple hazards, in particular this overlooked threat of heat. People are surprised to know that extreme heat is Australia's deadliest natural hazard and causes more fatalities than any other natural hazard combined. For this reason, it's known as a silent killer. And it's also the cause of significant social, mental health and economic impacts. It's estimated that labour productivity alone is impacted by 8.7 billion per year from heat waves. What's also remarkable is that Melbourne is the Australian city with the highest risk of death during heat waves. And people say, what? Melbourne is a really temperate climate. But it's because of our severe spikes in temperature and these warm nights that we experience where we can't cool our bodies down and seek that reprieve during the evening. Melbourne's future paints a concerning picture. So we know that the average number of days exceeding 35 degrees will rise significantly by 2050. Daily maximum temperatures are expected to increase by at least 1.6 degrees, and we spoke about records being broken. We're already tracking to very close to 1.5, which, as you'd all know, is locked into our Paris Agreement for the planet, and we're trying desperately to avoid it. So we're going to need to build to plan for that changing climate. We also know that certain groups are particularly vulnerable: the young, elderly, those without air conditioning, who don't have access to a car, people who don't speak great English, renters in public housing, homeless, and pregnant women, people experiencing family violence, outdoor workers, and those with disabilities and other conditions. A survey by Sustainability Victoria revealed the harsh reality for many people during extreme heat waves. Up to 18% of Victorians report having to leave their homes during a heat event, and that number jumps to a staggering 32% for people living in public housing. I could go on and depress you some more, but I'm going to talk about action. We've identified significant investment that's required over the next 10 years to build the resilience that we need in our city. This includes urban greening projects, building retrofits, and community preparedness programs. But we need more, and this is where you come in. We need your ideas, your enthusiasm, and your collaboration to achieve the rapid innovation, inspiration, and projects that deliver on more than one challenge. Tell us, how can we design and restore? How do we move beyond simply adapting and aiming for a higher, better state? How do we also go beyond zero carbon to create oxygen positive and carbon negative buildings in a city? How do we thrive with nature? How do we design with it and not against it? And how can we prioritise people build streets for all people and nature, not just for cars. And finally, how do we create livable, connected communities that create cities where all our basic needs are within a 20-minute walk? So, the Fishermans Bend Innovation Challenge is an opportunity to learn how urban renewal can create resilient and thriving communities for Melbourne and beyond. There aren't easy solutions. It is easy to feel really overwhelmed, but by working together, I really do think that by learning from others, we can find a multitude of solutions to these complex problems. We need to adopt a systems thinking and resilience-based approach to allow our cities to enjoy resilience dividends, helping to prevent the impact of our shocks and stresses that we know are coming on cities' people, economy, infrastructure and natural environment. The dual challenges of decarbonisation and adaptation, which are often dealt with separately, present enormous opportunity to all of us. So whether you're an engineer, you're an architect, a city planner, or even a filmmaker, this is an opportunity to reimagine this place as places of not just meeting and productivity and growth, but as places of refuge, community, respite, of change, of art and of nature. Buildings and infrastructure at the heart of cities, which means we can create buildings and retrofit buildings that integrate nature and not work against it, that are future-proof, climate adapted and able to accommodate rapid change in a rapidly changing world. So we're waiting to hear from you about how we can create this space to ensure that it stands the test of time through climate change, rapid societal change, while contributing to our public realm. So that's probably enough from me. We're really excited to hear your innovative ideas for Fishermans Bend and to work together with you to ensure that that legacy survives. I'm going to hand over and introduce now Amira Moshinksy, who's the winner of the 2022 Digital Innovation Challenge with her recycled material rain gardens. It's now a pilot called Remix Rain Gardens in Fishermans Bend. And Amira is a student in the Master of Engineering Environmental at the University of Melbourne, and hopefully we're going to hear some more about your journey as the 2022 winner. Welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Amira and I am here today because 2 years ago I embarked on a truly transformative journey, which was entering and winning the City of Melbourne Fishermans Bend Innovation Challenge. There we go. Since then, alongside studying my Masters in Environmental Engineering, I've had the pleasure of managing the collaborative and innovative Remix Rain Garden project. The idea for Remix Rain Garden stemmed from a university subject, and on a whim, I decided to enter and pitch it into the Innovation Challenge. The concept, in a nutshell, is to create rain gardens using local waste materials. From the surface, rain gardens look like regular garden beds, but below the surface, they are technically designed with specific layers of materials that work to capture and filter stormwater runoff. There's actually hundreds throughout the City of Melbourne, so keep a lookout for them. The concept is simple. Replace conventional, often unsustainable materials with local waste. Given the vulnerability of the precinct to flooding and the excess waste predicted from its development, this project seeks to address many concurrent issues, including circular economy, climate resilience, and digital education on water-sensitive urban design. Winning was exciting, but also a little bit daunting. It marked the beginning of a year-long pilot project. But bringing this concept to life was not immediately simple or clear. So a team was assembled, including other master's students from various faculties, academic staff for guidance, and partners within the City of Melbourne. This project's structure, with student management at the centre, is relatively unique and led to an interesting dynamic experience for us all. Our journey started with research and planning to work out what type of exploration in this area had been done before and how we could de-risk the concept. We then embarked on what we call proof of concept testing. This involved choosing specific local waste streams and creating units to evaluate how well they were able to filter contaminants from homemade stormwater. 6 months on, we obtained some really interesting data that showed the effectiveness of various waste streams, including 100% crushed glass, to support plant growth and filter out pollutants from stormwater. As you can see, by the 4th testing period, all recycled material combinations were performing above benchmark for TSS removal, a promising start to the technical component of this project. Simultaneously, the team and I began developing the physical installation for Fishermans Bend. We were determined to create a designed experiment, meaning a public installation that combines scientific testing with an attractive and educational design. It did not come together overnight, but rather required months of meetings, brainstorming, designing, and building. But through collaborative efforts, we succeeded in creating 9 testing units using locally recycled materials, complemented by sensors to monitor and analyze data in real time. All of the physical construction was done DIY, and the install day just happened to be on one of those unexpected Melbourne rainy days, which made for a very memorable experience. The units contain 100% recycled materials, including street sweepings, biochar, and coffee grounds. Sensors gather data and send it to a live data dashboard, and water samples are periodically sent to the lab. Our goal was not only functionality, but also community engagement. We strive to create an inclusive, accessible, and visually appealing space. We did this by employing signage and collaborating with a local artist to convey the importance of water-sensitive urban design through illustrations across the boxes, as you can see here. A sold-out launch event showed us how many people and organisations had been involved in bringing this project to life. The pilot seriously could not have happened without the input and expertise of many people, both from within the City of Melbourne and from external supporters. Since the formal completion of the pilot, Remix Rain Gardens is still going strong. Last July, we were invited to present our work at an international stormwater management conference in France, and we are currently working on a Remix Rain Garden 2.0. This next phase involves installing a series of additional testing units throughout Fishermans Bend to continue analysing the functional ability of recycled materials and to contribute to a precinct-wide water management strategy across both public and private property. Overall, participating and being successful in the City of Melbourne Innovation Challenge has opened up many interesting and unique experiences for me. I've had the opportunity to collaborate with experts, both within the council and beyond, and the experiences gained from this project will undoubtedly impact my career trajectory. To those considering applying, I encourage you to seize the opportunity. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, and thank you for having me tonight, and best of luck to all of the applicants. I would now like to introduce Caroline and Nina, lead conveners at Regen Melbourne and engine for ambitious collaboration. Regen are the host of bold projects for a regenerative Melbourne that are powered by an alliance of more than 180 organisations, all working together towards a thriving future for people and the planet. Please make them feel welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Nina Sharp from Regen Melbourne. We're really excited to be here today to launch more regenerative ideas for Fishermans Bend with you all, and thought we'd share a little bit about the work that we do in regeneration across Melbourne. We use donut economics as a framework. I'm not sure whether any of you have heard of the donut before. It's an amazing book by Kate Raworth. And what you see on the screen here is what we call the city portrait, the Melbourne donut. The green space, the safe and just space within the donut, is what we're thriving for Melbourne. The outer edges of the donut are the planetary boundaries. So air pollution, ozone layer depletion, biodiversity, species loss, and the inner boundaries are the social foundations. So what it means to live a good life. So access to housing, food, education, peace and justice, for example. So the way that we intend to help shift Melbourne into the safe and just space that is the donut is through our Earth Shots, or what we call wildly ambitious projects. We have 3 live wildly ambitious projects at the moment at the swimmable Birrarung. Swimming is of course a nice side bonus, but what we're actually intending to do there is regenerate the lifeblood that runs through our city, that is our Yarra waterway. Regen Streets, so aiming to catalyse a wave of regenerative streets across Greater Melbourne, and Participatory Melbourne, which Caro is the lead convener of, where we're shifting a resilient community and thriving citizens who have agency as a community. But this work is not about us. As Amira mentioned, we're an alliance of actually now over 200 organisations, and what we're asking of our partners and of the people of Melbourne is to organise ourselves in a different way around these wildly ambitious projects, and for all of us to be in service of these goals and the shift towards the donut. We love the fact that Fishermans Bend is an intersection of all 3 of our wildly ambitious projects. Of course, it's on the Yarra River. There are many streets just waiting to be regenerated, and there's a community there that needs to thrive. So we have an activity for you all, and Caro will talk you through that.
Hi everyone. So I get the easy bit. I just get to tell you a bit about what you're going to be doing with us afterwards. We made sure that food is at our station, so you'll be lured in to come and join us. But essentially, we've been doing a fair bit of work around what does it mean to create wildly ambitious projects? How do we actually think big? And how do we actually open up our imagination to think about not just what is, but what's possible? So we're hosting a little activity just up this narrow corridor here. We've got a range of maps. We've also got some thinking around precincts that are going to be coming up in the area. And we're going to encourage you to come along and bring your big ideas and start to think about where they might live in the space, because a lot of thinking in this way is actually thinking both visually as well as with all our conceptual ideas. So recognising that sometimes these big challenges like the swimmable Birrarung can be really overwhelming, but hopefully you've now heard a few examples where you can start small and still have a great impact like what we've heard from Amira. So come along, bring your wildly ambitious ideas, doesn't matter what they are. We'll have a conversation with you and we're going to hopefully help you get some of those big visions out in the world. But to get you even more inspired, I have the luxury of introducing our keynote speaker, regeneration superstar, Damon Gameau, film director, speaker and author. Damon has enjoyed an extensive and varied career as award-winning film director with 3 high-profile films, Regenerating Australia, That Sugar Film and 2040 to his name. Damon co-founded Regen Studios with Anna Kaplan, where together they work with philanthropists and NGOs to build comprehensive impact campaigns for the films to raise money for ecological solutions and awareness in classrooms, boardrooms and in parliaments around the world. Stay tuned for the soon-to-be-released Future Council. We were just hearing about it. It sounds brilliant and apparently a bit of a tearjerker as well. Damon, thank you, and come on up.
So, hi everyone, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me. I just realised that maybe not everyone knows exactly what the term regenerative means. We're talking about regenerative cities, so I guess there's lots of different interpretations emerging around the world right now, but I would say my version is that we're living in a degenerative extractive system right now that's basically built on scarcity, and we need to move to a regenerative system that's based on abundance. And so how do we not live sustainably, because we had that chance in the probably late 80s, early 90s to do that, but we've blown that. We now actually have to repair and heal the damage we've done to this beautiful planet and to our social systems, and that's what regeneration means from my point of view. But rather than me tell you, I thought what I might do is show you a film I made a couple of years ago with Jeff Bridges, because the dude talking about regeneration is much better than me. So the dude abides generation, apparently. So I might just show you that film to start.
We are being called to come together.
We're all being called.
We are being called
to come together. To come together, to connect.
To connect. To connect and to regenerate.
Regenerate.
To connect and to regenerate.
This is a call to the citizens of this planet. What is regeneration?
What is regeneration?
Regeneration puts life
to the center of every act and every decision.
We've inherited an economic system that is extractive and degenerative.
Vital connections have been severed between human beings and nature.
This disconnection and degeneration has brought us to the brink of an unimaginable crisis.
Degeneration is stealing the future.
Regeneration is healing the future.
A regeneração é o único caminho a seguir.
The only path forward. Regeneration means infusing our towns and our cities with nature.
Rewilding our towns and cities.
Transportation that cleans the air and calms the spirit.
Cleans the air and
Calms the spirit.
Regeneration brings our soils back to life.
Our soils back to life.
Regeneration creates locally operated renewable energy systems everywhere.
To enable people to take the energy transition into their own hands and make the planet clean.
Regeneration means bringing First Nations knowledge to the forefront.
Embracing Indigenous wisdom.
Indigenous story and Indigenous voices.
Essential knowledge systems that we need to live in harmony and address the crisis.
Regeneration means giving the young people the power
to shape their own future.
This is what democracy looks like. Empowered communities and citizens.
Regeneration means restoring our planet's ecosystem.
Allowing the living world to flourish once more.
To me, regeneration means...
To me, regeneration means love.
Protection. Harmony.
Resilience.
Loving the life that we've been given on this beautiful planet.
Regeneration means knowing the people in my neighborhood
And living in a safe, strong, and caring community.
Regeneration benefits every person, every living being.
Respeitar, conservar, proteger, cuidar.
We can use what we have in our unique way to take care of this place that we love.
Cuidar.
Our home. Regeneration is how we can do that. We're all in this together, man. This is a call to the citizens of this planet who want a better future for all living beings. A call to the regenerative.
I'm striking for climate justice and telling the truth in Russia, but it's dangerous to be a climate activist.
I power all my concerts with 100% renewable energy.
I'm working with farmers to find the best ways to increase soil health and increase biodiversity.
I hold our government accountable for their continuous climate denial and undoubtable support for the fossil fuel industry.
I hike mountains in high heels to build queer community in the outdoors and to advocate for our one true queen, Mother Nature.
We are all being called to come together, to connect, and to regenerate. See, we're moving from an industrial civilization to an ecological civilization. We're all here, alive in this moment, to make this happen. You are the regeneration.
You are the regeneration.
You are the regeneration.
You are the regeneration.
We are the regeneration.
We are the regeneration.
We are the regeneration.
We are the regeneration.
Somos a floresta, somos os rios. Nós somos a regeneração.
This is the regeneration.
Yeah, we actually got to project that onto the UN building in New York and the Taj Mahal, which was pretty cool, to sort of spread this regenerative message. But tonight's about regenerative cities, and I just thought I'd quickly show how important cities are if we're going to turn the mess around that we find ourselves in. 70% of emissions are generated from our cities. And that's in electricity, manufacturing, heating and cooling of buildings, transport and the waste. 4.3 billion people around the world occupy cities. And so this idea that they are the centre of the problem, but also the heart of the solution. So we have to take action in our cities, start wilding them, start regenerating them, which is why this initiative is so fantastic. What I thought I'd do is just show some of the best examples that I've come across of how cities are embracing regeneration. I mean, Regen Melbourne here, we really are incredibly lucky. I mean, they are really leading the way out of a lot of cities in the world, and it is testament to both of you and what you're doing. It's so exciting, and if we can get the Yarra swimmable by 2030, it will be spectacular. But I'll just show you some other examples. So it's a terrible image. The pixels are pretty dilated there, but this is actually not an AI. This is not a deep fake. This is real. This is a great example. This happened in Korea, in South Korea, in Seoul, and it's a beautiful story where the local residents there, some of the older residents, knew that there was this river underneath the freeway, and they believed that the spirit of that river was being trapped by all the concrete, and they thought it was actually bringing ill luck to the citizens of the town. And so one man said, well, look, why don't we try and rip the highway down? And everyone said, you're absolutely crazy, that'll never happen. He worked with some urban planners. They found that they could actually get people faster across the city if they did take it down and increase public infrastructure and transport. And what do you know? They ripped down this highway that had 178,000 cars going over it every single day. Miracles can happen when regeneration's in the game. And so now that's a real photo. It's a clear water. People are swimming in that river. The birds have come back. The fish are back. It's such a great example of how we can wild our cities, bring nature into urban environments and transform, obviously, the well-being of people, but also all the ripple effects for biodiversity in our cities. This is China. They've got this incredibly ambitious project called Sponge Cities, and they're trying to capture 80% of the rainfall that falls in 80% of their largest cities by 2030. And they're doing that by creating wetlands throughout the cities, but also using porous walkways with giant tanks under the city so they can capture the rainwater. So important given where we're headed with climate change, particularly in this country. We should be capturing as much water as we can. I think I read the stat the other day is that Melbourne gets about 7,500 swimming pools of rain that falls on the city every year, and we need to be capturing a lot more of that as we move forward. So this is a really good example. And again, there are multiple benefits, which is a key tenet of regeneration. You improve the biodiversity there, you get animals coming back towards the cities, all the wildlife that people can thrive living amongst. This is the world's largest rooftop garden, which has just been built in Paris as well. It's the size of 2 soccer fields. And obviously a key tenet of regeneration is how do we get more localised food closer to people in the cities. And a really wonderful study was actually just done in Cleveland, Ohio, and they found that if 80% of the vacant lots in in Cleveland were turned into veggie gardens with chickens and bees, they could provide the city with half of the fresh produce it needed and a quarter of all the poultry and eggs and all of the honey they needed. And then if they added those gardens onto rooftops that were amenable to veggie patches, they could meet all of the needs of that town. So these are the kind of awesome, radical things we can do. And I dare say we will have to start thinking about as our supply chains get affected, because that's the reality. We have left climate action a little too late, and we're going to see supply chain issues in the decade ahead. We're going to have to think about how we localise and grow our food in a much different way. Some of you might know this story as well. There's incredible what's happening in Taiwan in the data space, and some of you might already know this story, but in 2015, a group of activists went and sat in Parliament House in Taiwan, and they set up some screens and they live streamed the sit-in that they did in the Parliament, and they interviewed various politicians. And it actually took off right around the country. People got really politically engaged with this particular protest. And a year later, a new president came in and he singled out the lead activist, the protester, a woman named Audrey Tang, and made her digital minister of Taiwan, the first ever digital minister. And what Audrey did was go and convene with the head of technology, the minister there, the minister for transport, minister for the environmental protection. And they created this civilian Internet of Things platform where they put 13,000 sensors across the country in all the waterways in industrial areas, and so the residents could track real time the air pollution quality and water pollution quality that was going on. They had almost 500 incidents reported. They've issued hundreds of millions of dollars of fines, and it's changed all the practices of the industries there because the public can keep an eye on them. Like, it's a great example of decentralising governance, of using tech in a really smart and regenerative way. I recommend looking at other things they've done with that technology, especially around their democracy. They really are way out ahead of things we should be doing in other parts of the world. This one's for the dreamers. It's a bit more kind of futuristic regen city, but it is being built right now. So this is a very famous architect, some of you might know him, Stefano Bori, and this is being built in China, the Luzhou forest city, 40,000 trees of mixed species as well, creating, you know, that real lush, biodiverse environment. No combustible engines allowed in there. It's all electric vehicles, but it's mainly all public transport. And yeah, they're sort of about 2 years into their building right now, so you can go online and track how that's being built. But I mean, it's pretty wild. 5 years ago, to think that that would even be built is pretty crazy, but that's where we're at right now. People are starting to... When there's a crisis, these radical ideas become common sense really quickly. So I don't have much time. I know it was only very condensed, but if you do want to know more about regeneration, I have set up a platform with our team called the Regenerators, and we've built this really comprehensive plan where you can go in there, you can hit that button, start regenerating. We ask you some questions about what you're interested in. We've broken down all the areas that we need to regenerate, from fashion to democracy to energy to waterways to soil, whatever it might be. And then we ask you how much time you have or how you'd like to help out, and then offer up 10 or 12 things that you can do to get involved and point you in the right direction. And if you do know any teachers or if you have a school that might be amenable to some of this stuff, we're just about to launch a Regen Learning Hub, which has 100 free cross-curriculum lessons for all age groups, all year levels, and we're really making it available for communities and teachers and parents, your climate-denying uncle, if you so choose to share it with him. Just making things really easy, because I think, as most of you know, we are at the precipice right now, and I don't think I need to tell this room about that. We really do have a choice to make. Do we continue and living in this unravelling system for the next 10 years or so that's going to get quite messy, and have a shared agreement that all our kids are going to have a really, really challenging and difficult future? Or do we roll our sleeves up and start redesigning and regenerating this civilization to turn it into that ecological one that the dude mentioned? So thank you very much for having me. Go forth and regenerate. Cheers.